Hey guys, and welcome back. So today you should have completed your Unit 1 Practice FRQ. So it was just a discussion post, so what you were supposed to do, and I'm sure you've already done it, but if you were confused, you had the FRQ prompt, and then you were supposed to answer the prompt and then post your reply kind of in the discussion board. And then when you posted it, my reply came up with the link to your rubric, which is right here. So you are supposed to grade your own FRQ. So give yourself a score out of 10, and then just like keep that as a mental note, and then come back and watch this video with how you are supposed to score your FRQ. So if you haven't done that yet, go back and make sure that you do that. Again, once you post in the discussion board with your answer, then this rubric becomes available to you, but you can't see it until you post. So if that's was messing you up, maybe that can help fix any issues that you were having. So what I'm going to do now is just go through this rubric with you and kind of take you step by step with how you should be grading your FRQ and how the readers will grade your free response questions on your AP exam. So now, you guys grading yourselves, you might have been a little bit lenient. But just know that on your AP exam, there's not really a lot of wiggle room for these points. Like it's either you got it or you didn't. Let's move on. So we are going to kind of grade these as we go out throughout this semester, just to help you kind of figure out how other people will be grading them. And then in turn, that will help you do better on your own free response questions and your tests, because your tests will be in essay form for the time being. So let's take a look at this FRQ. So we're going to start with number 1, and it says the atmosphere is one important carbon reservoir. Describe a biological process by which carbon is removed from the atmosphere and converted to organic molecules. 1 point for a correct description, with or without an equation. A student can earn the point even without explicitly identifying the process as photosynthesis if an accurate description is provided. No point is earned for naming photosynthesis without a description. So for this one, we are doing, so it says describe a biological process by which carbon is removed from the atmosphere. So this is photosynthesis. They're asking you to describe photosynthesis here. Now you can either write the equation out and you can get points for the equation, or you can write a description. So an example here is photosynthesis is the process by which plants and autotrophs take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and convert it to the food, glucose, sugar, complex carbs, or they fix carbon into food, glucose, sugar, complex carbohydrates. So any of that works. So if you said photosynthesis is the process by which plants take in CO2 from the atmosphere, and then convert it into food, that's fine. If you say they convert it into just glucose, that's fine. You don't have to have all of these words. So it doesn't have to say food, glucose, sugar, complex carbs. Any one of those will do, okay? And then if you say that photosynthesis is the process by which plants make their own food, the equation is, and you provide the correct equation for photosynthesis, that also works. And then part 2 was describe a biological process by which carbon is converted from organic molecules to a gas and returned to the atmosphere. So you get 1 point here for a correct description. So like in this first part, if you had a correct description of photosynthesis, there's your first point, okay? If you did not, no points. So here's another point we can earn. So a student can earn the point even without explicitly identifying the process if an accurate description is provided. No point for listing the word as an answer. You have to identify the form of carbon being released. So you can say any of these. You just need one. So the first correct description would be respiration breaks down food, glucose, sugar, complex carbs, and releases CO2 into the atmosphere. So you can have that description, or you can say respiration is a process by which carbon is released into the atmosphere. The equation is, and then list the correct equation. But if you don't have the equation or you don't have a correct description, then you do not get a point. So this is one possibility here. So you didn't have to have this answer, but if you had this one, you could get a point. Another possibility is animals digest food and produce gases such as methane that can be emitted either through belching or flatulence. This is not something that we specifically have gone over yet. We'll talk about this more when we talk about agriculture, but that is correct, so you can get 1 point for that. And then decomposition of organic material, bacteria or fungi converts organic carbon into gases such as methane. Also acceptable, but at this point in our lesson or in our course, I would say that the most likely one that you guys would have would be this one. So the respiration breaks down the food, because we know about photosynthesis and respiration, right? We should. It's a review from biology. Okay, so then our next one, we have a food web. Yay, food webs. So it says, refer to the diagram above to complete the following table. 3 points. You get 3 points for this. 1 point for each correct identification of each organisms in the table. So if you're keeping count, we're at 2 points right now, and we're getting another 3 right here. So 1 is identify the primary producer. It's a diatom. Okay, so remember, our primary producers are at the bottom of the pyramid, and they produce their own food. So here's 1 point. So did you say diatom or phytoplankton? Good, 1 point. A primary consumer. So a primary consumer is something that eats the producer. In this food web, there's only one choice. That's going to be the krill. Okay, I think I need to choose a darker color to highlight with. So our krill is 1 point. So 1 point for the krill, 1 point for the diatom. And then identify a secondary consumer, where here our secondary consumer is either going to be the cod or the seal, because the seal and the cod both eat the krill, which eats the diatom. You don't have to have both. You have one or the other. So if you wrote down cod, 1 point. If you wrote down seal, 1 point. If you wrote down both of them, you're not supposed to do that. But as long as they're both correct, they'll give you the point for the first one. So 1 point for the diatom, 1 point for the krill, 1 point for the cod. So we're up to 5 points total. So A says, other than showing which organisms are consumed by others, describe what is indicated by the direction of the arrow. So you can either say it shows the flow of energy among the trophic levels or shows the flow of matter. You have to have one of those two things. Okay? If you didn't say one of those two things, no point. So now we are up to 6 points. 4 left. 3 says biological diversity or biodiversity has become a topic of great concern among conservationists. Biodiversity is often used by scientists and policymakers to help determine the health of ecosystems. Describe 2 characteristics shared by ecosystems that have high biodiversity. You get 2 points, so 1 point for each description. Okay? So you can describe a large number of different species, large numbers of individuals of different species, complex food webs, greater genetic diversity, variety of ecological roles and niches, or abundant resources. So those are all possibilities. So, and then you do want a description. Okay, so you want a description of these things. So what I would say do is, so for this first one, we have a large number of different species. So you would say, we're describing them, so you would maybe use an example of like a rainforest. So you would say a rainforest has a high biodiversity. A characteristic of a rainforest would be a large number of different species, which contributes to yada, yada, yada. Okay, but you do need to at least have 2 of these in your FRQ. So we're at 2 points, so what are we up to now? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 2 left. So we're at 8 points. So B says describe 2 ecological benefits that greater biodiversity provides. So you get 2 points, 1 point for each ecological benefit. And just a reminder too, so with these, where you're listing 2 benefits, you only want to have 2. So if you listed multiple ones, so if you were like just trying to think of things and you started listing them out, you only grade the first 2, because they'll stop grading after the first 2. And if one of those first 2 is correct and then 1 is not, then you only get 1 point, but you get 1 point for each. So describe 2 ecological benefits that greater biodiversity provides. So you would say pollination, water, air filtration by intact ecosystems, stability, survivability of ecosystems, control of pest species, more source material for evolution, and then soil microorganisms that can contribute to nutrient recycling, leading to higher primary productivity. So for you guys and what we've been over so far, I would say the soil organisms would maybe be one that's on your radar. Also, probably survivability, stability of ecosystems. But again, I just want to remind you guys as well, especially on these last couple of questions, we are still very early in our, just in going over the content for this class, okay? So we've just done like the intro to ecosystems. So some of this stuff you might not even be on your radar. And remember, again, the average is 5 points. So 5 out of 10 is average on your FRQs. That's what can get you a 3 on your AP exam. So if you got, we aim to have at least an 8 out of 10, right? An 8 out of 10 would be mastery. But if you got at least a 5 out of 10, I would say that you're in the ballpark of getting a 3. And then as we go on in this course and we learn a little bit more, some of these questions will be a little bit easier to answer, okay? So 2 points for the 2 characteristics, 2 points for the ecological benefits, and then that gives us a total of 10 points. So what you're going to do now is double check and make sure that you graded yourself correctly the first time. And then there's going to be a little text box for you to write a reflection about how you did on this FRQ. Where did you go wrong and where do you think that you can improve in the future? So if you guys have any questions about that or the grading or using this rubric, let me know. And if not, I will see you guys really soon.